Hello everybody, my name is Cesar Brod and I am with the Linux Professional Institute. It's really a pleasure to be here again with you in another edition of EduTech. I just hope in a not so distant future I will be able to be there, not virtually but in flesh and bones. With the amount of technology existing today and the vast number of things one needs to learn, it is impossible, of course, for an educational institution and their teachers to teach everything. It is more important to teach the students how to learn continuously, as this is a fact of life. One will never stop learning. This is especially true for us in the computer industry. Here in the picture you see me in my first job in the field, and this is almost 4 years ago. Yes, I am that old. And this picture was taken during a training on communication processors in the 1980s. A teacher of this course, Mr. Jim Wild, was very important in my learning process. He knew I was exploring software engineering and gave me a book called The Mythical Man Month, whose author, Fred Brooks Jr., I ended up knowing in person, and until this day we are friends. The vast majority of the information in this book is still valid, and if you haven't read it, I strongly recommend you should. Do check my professional timeline for some examples of things I ended up learning. When it is important, you see some links here in the presentation. This whole presentation will be available to you. I will provide you the link for the presentation and some more resources by the end of this presentation. And of course, this video will be available for you in YouTube, so you can be back and rewatch the presentation. And I'll also add most of the resources in the YouTube comments. Of course, in this presentation, we won't be able to cover all possibilities on how to prepare students to get their dream job. So let's try a couple of examples. How can a student get to know what kind of jobs are available? So let's imagine you want to work for a major technology company, such as Google. I invite you, after we finish this exercise, to search for other companies such as Amazon, SpaceX, whatever company you want to try and see what kind of professionals they are requesting. Typically, all big companies, and not only big companies, they use terms such as jobs, career, or work with us when they are trying to find a candidate to fill in a position. By now, let's just try this Google search. Jobs or career or work with us. Now let me explain this search a little bit. The operator OR tells Google to search for pages containing the words jobs or career or the expression work with us. Everything you write between double quotes is considered by Google as a single expression. It will be searched as a single word, not separate words. These words and expressions are the ones mostly used in companies to promote job postings. So let's take a look at the results. You probably agree with me that almost 5.6 billion results are a little bit overwhelming, right? So let's refine our search a little bit. As an example, I'll try to find only jobs on Google. So let's do jobs or career or work with us, the same search that we did before, but now we'll specify site google.com. The special key site tells Google to look for jobs only inside Google. And here are the results. Now we know by looking at the results, looking at the URLs that are retrieved by the search, that Google publishes its job postings on careers.google.com. So we can be a little bit more specific. Let's just work for the posts in this specific site. So we are doing this search here. We are instructing Google to look into the pages inside careers.google.com. Now we've got 236,000 results. a lot better than the billions results that we got before. We can refine this a little better. Let's check for jobs available in the last month. So you can go into tools, and in tools you can search the specific period. In here I'm searching in the last month. I think it's easier to use the search box. So I'm looking for postings after the date of 2021, February 1st. So all of the postings that Google, all of the job posts that Google posted after the beginning of February 2021. Pay attention to the format. You will use after, year, month, and day. Around 21,000 job postings since February 2021. Not bad. We can still dig a little more though. Let's suppose you want to work with Linux. Just add it to your search. So, well, now you are the master of your search box. You understand what is going on, right? So, Linux, site careers.google.com after 2021-0201. A little more than 1,600 results. So, from billions of results, now we've got 1,600 results. And you see, Google does use Linux. If you replace the keyword Linux by Windows, you see there's much less options. I will let this search for you though, so do some more experience. Of course, you can be a lot more specific, adding more keywords to your search. By now, let's take a look at the first search result. Data center, technician, university graduate. So, you first notice that Google is already hiring ahead. Your job will only start in 2022. So you even have time to get prepared. And they do require a bachelor degree or equivalent practical experience. They want you to have some experience on hardware and network issue using Linux tools. And they want you to have the LPIC equivalent experience in working with Linux. And basically, if they want you to troubleshoot hardware and network issues using Linux tools, you will need to know the contents, the topics of the exams LPIC 1 and LPIC 2. And these certifications are offered by the Linux Professional Institute. So start looking at the topics on wiki.lpi.org. If you look into the whole objectives of LPIC 1, you see there's lots of stuff to learn, of course, but at least now you know what you need to learn to apply for this specific job inside Google. A lot of university computer science and related courses already cover some of these topics. Your students could form a group to study for the topics not covered in their regular classes. A good number of universities also, and take a look if the university that you work for already has this kind of partnership, but a lot do a partnership with Cisco Net Academy. And the students can take several courses on Linux provided by them. I'm also pretty sure you can find other Linux learning resources, in your region. And the Linux Professional Institute, of course, provides a good amount of study material on our official site learning.lpi.org. There are several ways for your students to get together and prepare for their dream job. Now, for how long one has to study to get a dream job? I just love this example provided by John Washington. He wanted to get a job at Google, and by doing pretty much the same exercise we did here to find what would be the qualifications required by our dream job, he made a list of things he needed to learn and studied 8 to 12 hours a day for 8 months. At the end, he got a job at Amazon. Not bad at all. He's happy. Your students do not have 8 hours a day? Well, don't worry. You are so lucky I have set up a calculator in this address that you see in here, broadtech.com/STC. STC means the student study time calculator, and this is based on how many hours you have available on your day. How many, it will tell you how many months or years you have to study. So just fill in the hours that you have per day and you get this result. This, of course, is based on John Washam's method. Now, what about creating your own method? Let's take a look at the topics of the Linux Essentials exams. Here is the wiki address where you can see these topics. And I know it's quite difficult to read these topics in this slide here because it's a lot of things. So here you have the direct link. So here, right at the bottom of this slide. And as I told you before, all of these links, all of this presentation and more resources will be available to you. Now, nerd alert. In your browser, show the source code for the page. It will depend on the browser that you are using, but basically if you right-click your mouse, you can select the appropriate option, which is usually show the source code or something like that. You'll see something like this. Again, lots of information, but you see that we are interested in the lines that contain the expression top level tree, as those are the lines where you find the summary of every subtopic. Those are the items that you will need to study. Now, I am supposing that you have access to a bash shell, the Linux terminal. And if you don't, do find ways to get access to a Linux terminal, because you will actually need to know Linux as you advance in your search for your dream job. And in the terminal, issue the following command. Curl, the address of the wiki page that we were looking for. Pipe, this vertical bar in here means pipe, meaning I'm asking the output of curl to be treated by the command grep that is looking for lines where you have top level tree. So let's take a look on well, if we do that, okay, let's expand the magic just a little bit. I have used the backslash in here so I can divide my commands in multiple lines. Both grep and cut commands you need to know in order to pass the Linux Essentials LPIC1 and pretty much all other subsequent exams from the Linux Professional Institute. You need to use those commands in your day-by-day jobs as you progress in your career. Students should know, regardless if they will be working for SpaceX, Google, Amazon, Tesla, several other companies in the technical side of those companies, or if they will be providing services related to embedded systems, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, data science, advanced robotics, all kinds of things, they will need to learn and to know Linux very well. So do take opportunities like this to introduce this kind of comments to them. Here, we are redirecting the output of the previous comments we issued to two cut commands in sequence. The key -D specifies the field delimiter and the key -F specifies which field we are selecting. I will not explain further due to the time limits that we have in here, but do experience these commands. Pace by pace, like start with the first line, add the second line, the third and the fourth line, and see what happens in the output. Of course, if you look into learning.lpi.org in the materials that covers Linux Essentials, you will have a very good explanation of all of these commands. So I'll let it for you to explore this a little bit later. Now let's just look at the results. How cool is this, right? You have all of the subtopics in here. And of course, there are several other ways you could get the same kind of information. And I'm pretty sure even more efficient ways to do this, even using the command line. However, see how much information you can cover in here, from the structure of a web page to comments that will be useful for you your entire professional life. Now, copy the data from this terminal into a spreadsheet on your Google Drive. Do remember that when you are in your Linux terminal, you use Ctrl-Shift-C instead of just Ctrl-C to copy stuff. So Ctrl-Shift-C and then paste it in your spreadsheet with a regular Ctrl-V. So you see, now we have all of our subtopics in here, the things we'll need to study. I have used an extra cut command and 2 tr commands to delete unwanted characters. Cut, you already know, you use to specify the limiters and treat your line output as fields, and you can actually expose the fields that you want as the output. And the tr command will substitute characters, or you can also delete characters. Again, lots of things here that you can explore, and the whole information is on learning.lpi.org. Let's see the results. So here, what I did, I have extracted the weights for each one of the subtopics in the Linux Essentials exams. Weights are basically the number of questions that you will have on each topic. And of course, there is some extra magic in here. This spreadsheet is open for you to play and copy for yourself. This is the address of this spreadsheet, mundolinux.com.br study plan. And let's explore this a little bit. Let's take a look at this spreadsheet, at the real spreadsheet right now. So this is exactly what you see when you open that URL that I showed you in the previous slide, mundolinux.com.br/studyplan. In the first tab here, you have the instructions on how to use it. I'll just let you read it when you access, but important thing, if you are doing a study plan for yourself, just go File and make a copy. So you have your personal study plan and you can make sure that nobody will mess up with that. If you want to, of course, you can mess up with this one because it's protected, so there are some things in here that you'll be able to write. So here is a study time per weight. It means like for how many minutes you will need to study to be able to answer the specific questions for every topic. I guessed here it's gonna be 60 minutes. It can be more, it can be less. As this is the first time we are doing that, this can vary a little bit from person per person. It will depend if you are studying by yourself or if you're studying in a group. By now, let's just leave this way. Hours per day I can study. Well, I don't know, maybe I'll leave instead of 6. By now I'll be very modest and I'll say I can study 4 hours per day, and I will only be able to study 2 days per week. Like I work, I go to my college or to my high school, and I do only have time to study during the weekend, and I don't want to burn my whole weekend. So, how do I much about each one of those specific topics in here? Oh, let's say Linux, evolution, and popular operating systems. Okay, I know pretty much all about that, so say 90%. Major open source software applications. I do know about LibreOffice, and that's it, so I'll say 20%. Open software and licensing. Well, okay, I don't know. I'll need to study that. So you go on and you can say how much you know about each one of those things already. And of course, in order for you to be sure how much you know about each one of those topics, you need to take a real look at wiki.lpi.org, and you will want to know how much you really know about those subtopics on Linux Essentials. So there you go. You see, as you change the amount of things that you know, like command line based, well, I know ls, I know cp, I'll say that I know 30%. Notice that as soon as I type 30% and I click out, the amount of hours that I will study, they change automatically. So if you go here, in the end, you see the amount of days that you need to study, the weeks, and years. So if you really know nothing about that, and if you really will need to study 60 minutes for each one of those things, you will need to study 5.8 years. Is it too much? Yes. Do you really need 60 minutes for every question that you need to reply to? Probably not. I don't know. But at least here you have some place, somewhere to start. The thing in here is that you can say, well, here is the amount of time that I really studied. So let's say, okay, here I studied 12 hours. Here I studied, instead of 96 hours, I was able to study 96 minutes. I studied 30 minutes. Here again, 30 minutes. And then I'll just fill in everything in here with 30 minutes. As you go topic by topic, you will type in the right amount of minutes that you actually study. So you see now that the actual study time per topic was half an hour. So when you are going to study for the next exam, which is LPIC 1, you can already start saying that you will study 30 minutes per question. So the time will be a lot better for you, and you will be able to know how many months and years you need to study. See, now you study 1 year here, which is a lot less than what we started in Linux Essentials. And I'm pretty sure that, and you see the number of years, 1.4 years, which is a lot nicer than what we started with, 5.8 years. But the truth is, by exercising with these spreadsheets, you will know better how much time you have to study. And you can do this kind of exercise for every kind of thing that you will study. And as you go on, you will know how to pace your study better. Okay, I need to learn that in 6 months rather than a year. Okay, so you need to maybe increase the days per week that you want to study, or the hours per day, or as you get more and more acquainted with the material that you're studying, you need less time to study. Well, that's it for now. I thank you very much. I do hope you have enjoyed this small presentation, and I'm looking forward to see you again in another edition of EduTech. Do invite me to go there. I love traveling. I love to be in contact with people. Have a nice day. Here you have my contact. Feel free to contact me if you have some other doubts. You already know I do receive lots of emails, so if I take too much time to reply to your message, be sure to forward your message to me again, so it will bump on the top of my inbox. Thank you very much. See you next time. Be safe.